Hey, I've got my window open to have a little fresh air. So sorry if you hear some people driving by in their engines and whatnot, but just wanted to talk a little bit about family. I was talking to somebody earlier in a consultation, and she said, "How do I how do I break free from the hold my family has over me?" It's a really toxic relationship, and pretty much I know that they're really not out for my best interest. It was really funny because we started the conversation about how I had caught, how I had I caught that mole that had cancer, and I insisted it get removed, even though the doctor was like, "No, no, just watch and see what it does," which it would have killed me if I would have done that. Um, so we were talking about that for a minute, and I said, it's really important that we listen to ourselves because in all areas of our lives, we're really all we really have. You think that other people have your back, and they may even intend to, but as long as you have an ego, which you do, you're going unless you're enlightened, which is extremely rare. You guys, we shoot that word out a lot, like it's a more common thing than it is, but it's really only about 3% of the population. But as long as you have an ego, you are going to inadvertently and even subconsciously sabotage someone else by giving them advice that you feel would be best for them when it really isn't. Because you ultimately want them to stay in your life, or you ultimately want them to stay down here because you're staying down here. You may not even, most people are not even self-aware enough to know what they're doing. They may really think they're coming from a really good place, telling you that family comes first and telling you that you need to listen to your mother because your mother knows best, or to do as the Bible says because that's just what you're supposed to do. And here's the proof of it. Just read this. So, we get, we were talking about, I started to go on this tangent about how we really need to have our own backs because nobody else really does. Even if they intend to, they really don't. You have to have your own back. This is a journey about autonomy, about like learning how to listen to your own intuition and grow in your own strength and empowerment. And, you got to be learning how to do that. Not even with your masculine or your feminine. You got to be self-reliant. So, so she was talking about her family and how she ultimately knows, she was like, I said, if you went to a desert island and you didn't have to deal with your family anymore, would it be easier to make this decision and draw the line and to kind of break apart from them and do your own thing? And she was like, no, I'd be worried about what my mom would think. And I said, you know what I feel it is? You're not really worried about what your mom will think and that your mom will be worried. It's more that you know that your mother would attack you or threaten you or do something to make your life hell because she can't control you anymore. If you were to do that, if you were to just make up your own mind to do whatever the heck you want, right? And unfortunately, most parents really are not aware of themselves and their behavior. And they just inadvertently just kind of teach you the wrong things, and they just teach you to just obey them and to do as they say or to do what will make them happy. So we're coming to a point where a lot of the masculines, a lot of the divine masculines, because they're the ones that were still a bit influenced by this type of thing. A lot of feminines, they're just a bit more intuitively in touch and more advanced. They've been working on themselves for a while longer. And by the masculine and feminine, I mean by definition of twin flames. The masculine would be the one who runs away from the connection, and the feminine would be the chaser, the one who chases. So even by that, it's like, obviously, if the masculine's running away, he doesn't know how to deal with his feelings. You know what I mean? Otherwise, he wouldn't be running. He would be facing it like she is. anyway, so, she was like, what do you do with that? So one of the big takeaways for her was realizing that she's actually being threatened by her parents. It's not love. It's you do as I say or else. And sometimes we are in the unhealthiest of environments and relationships without even realizing that they're so darn unhealthy. It's like somebody kidnapped you and they convinced you that that was the best life for you. And, it actually, this is so funny because I just watched Zookeeper. You guys got to watch Zookeeper because it's actually a twin flame story. But, he went and dated like who he thought was like the hottest woman he could possibly get, She had money and she was good looking and everybody would look up to him for being with her and all of this. And he really tried his very best to please her. And he convinced himself that he wanted what she wanted for him as well. She wanted him to do all these different things. And he thought, what, those things are great. They'll bring in a lot of money. And, I am a great salesperson and I am, it's like he totally convinced himself. And, but, his twin just really sweetly and gently kind of pointed him in the right direction. And she was like, is that really what you want? Or is that what this other person wants, So that's where we're coming to, is starting to say, this is what I truly want. Don't poo-poo my dreams. Don't tell me I can't achieve my dreams just because you wouldn't go after yours. Most people are projecting. What most people are saying to you, what they wish they could say to themselves, or they wish they could go back and make themselves do back when. So you really just can't take what anybody says very seriously at all. Even if they, I don't know how to explain, but just always check against your intuition and do your own research and look into things for yourself. It reminds me of, in the Bible, they talk about the Bereans of noble character, and they were of noble character because they did their research. They looked into it. They found out for themselves and what felt right for them ultimately. And those guys were the ones who were true, those are people who can have conviction about what they're doing. Some of us even want other people to make decisions for us so that we can blame them when everything goes wrong. Because God forbid, it's like, that you wouldn't be able to deal with the consequences or the regret if you actually made the decision and you failed, which there really is never any failure. I think another one is guilt, dealing with the guilt of, your parents saying that you're selfish and that you're horrible for doing your own thing. Well, I will tell you, from talking to the other side quite a bit, and knowing the way that energy works, as selfish as your parents will call it, that's just manipulation on their part, period. Because if you truly go for what your heart truly desires and what is really authentic for you, that is what God is calling you to. That is God's will, because we are one with God, universe. And we have that vital source energy within us. And when we are inspired to do God's will by feeling prompted to go after what we feel passionate about and what our hearts are calling us to. So when you're listening to people, that is listening to mortals and listening to form and listening to materialism, that is listening to the devil, that's listening to the temptation, the little devil on your shoulder is your parents. People who are biased, people who are telling you these things based on your ego and based on indoctrination, duality and dogma and all that. So make up your own mind, and where was I going with that? There have been times when I have had to set some pretty serious boundaries within my own family. And there have been times when I've had to say, you know what, that absolutely, completely does not work for me. And I don't care how big of a tantrum you're going to throw or what you're going to threaten. I'm not going to have anything to do with you if you continue this way, because you're hurting me, you're abusing me, you are not aligned with what I want. This is what I was going to say, is that when you align with God's will, the universe's will, however, I'm using whatever verbiage, doesn't even really matter. It's all about energy. But when you align with what's truly calling you, it is God is trying to inspire you to be brave, to be courageous, and to go after that desire. And we're not talking about we're talking about not like lustful desire. There's a difference between like lustful temptation desire. Even that will pull you in for a lesson. But I'm talking about this really, really resonates with me on a soul level. Or it's like, I know if I make this decision, I'm going to be completely exhilarated. I'm going to feel like I'm flying high. I'm going to feel like, yes, I really accomplished something. Or yes, I finally broke free. Or yes, I'm finally me. That's what I'm talking about. When you follow that kind of authenticity, when you just do what you want, just what you want, not based on anybody else. If it's truly a heart's desire that you truly want, taking nobody else out of the equation, it's amazing how the universe conspires to not only make that thing happen for you, but to make everything else good. The times that I did take a stand that I was talking about, with my own parents, it turned out incredible. And even if it doesn't, it'll still turn out incredible in the way that, like, in the end result, it will. So, like with my mother, I set a really strong boundary and actually threatened to disown her if she continued to talk to my stalker ex-boyfriend. Because every time, she decided, I decided he's a threat. I decided I didn't want him coming over to my mom's house and my grandma's house and asking a bunch of questions about me, as to how I'm doing, where I'm living, what I'm doing, that kind of stuff. I felt they were putting me in danger by giving him more information about me because I knew what he was capable of. I experienced it. I saw it firsthand. So I felt like I was being threatened. So I told, my grandma and my mom, I will not speak to you again if you continue. If I hear reports of you guys inviting him to your house or allowing him in your house and you continue to tell him things about me, because you're threatening me. You're directly threatening me, and that is my call to make, not yours. And so they were like, but he's so nice, and he's so this, and you should marry him, and you should this and that. They were in, I don't even know what world they were in, but they thought that, whatever they thought. They were going against me, though. But that was my relationship, and I just felt they were threatening me. So, but as a result of me drawing that line, and you really have to adhere to that boundary. You really have to. I mean, I don't think I ever said I'd ever talk to them again, but I said that if you continue this way, I'm not going to. I don't remember what it was, but it was something that I stood by, and it was something having to do with not talking to you until I hear that you've closed the door and told him that you're not going to talk about me anymore, or something like. I don't remember what it was. But it was something very stern that I was able to stand by. And that's what you got to do too. You got to stand by your word. And don't say you're going to do something as a threat and then not do it either. So if you're not about to never speak to them again, then don't threaten that. But threaten something and say something, like draw a line about something that's very stern that they are not going to like, a consequence that they are not going to like, and that you are very well capable of doing, And so tell them, I'm just remembering another threat that I made once. This is so funny. But anyway, it worked. And my mother and my grandmother completely respected me from then on out. And they did not speak to him anymore. They did not do anything else with him. And then he and I, years later, ended up, making amends. And we are like friends to this day, like we talk now. So it's good. It all was good, but I had to really stand up for myself. Another thing that happened was one time I was with someone and his mother kept coming over unannounced. And I knew what she was up to. She was very, manipulative, and she was trying to be kind of disruptive and kind of like be like top dog. Like, look what I can do. I can show up unexpected anytime I want. And if you guys just knew this woman, oh my gosh, she was like monster-in-law. And so I told him, I said, he was like, I don't know what to do. I mean, it's not like I can stop her from coming over or anything. And I said, all right, okay. If you want to do that, then fine. She can come over anytime she'd like, but I'm going to answer the door naked. And I knew that she'd be mortified if I did that. You know, she'd go, oh, who do you think you are? You know, she'd be so offended. And he knew I would do it. He totally knew I would do it. So he was like, Mom, you cannot come over unannounced anymore. You know, so that was kind of cool. You know, and people, you know, if you have an open door policy, that's a different thing. But it's like she was very, very intrusive, obviously, or I would never have had to assert that kind of a boundary. But this is how you feel it out, you know. Several times throughout my life, I've had to set boundaries like that. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do for people to treat you with respect and for them to treat you in a way that is comfortable for everybody involved, you know. So family is not, you know, because I remember, I mean, some people say, you know, if they weren't my family, ... And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? So you were born in that womb. It honestly, don't let your parents brainwash you into thinking that you owe them something. You don't owe them something for anything. And it's like, if they were that great to you, then maybe you would feel like you owed them, you know, but not from guilt, but because you feel like, you know, they're beautiful people. But it's not like an owing of like, oh, now I owe you my firstborn child, and now I owe you all the, like, for you to be able to play all the strings in my life and I'm your little puppet. That's not the kind of owing I'm talking about. By owing, there could be a certain loyalty or dedication that's like, I am going to take care of you and love you and be kind to you and compassionate with you like you've shown me. You know, something that's more respectful like that. But at the same time, it's like having the boundary with the person that you're with enough to say, this is what we want, this is what we expect, and this is, you know, this is how we're going to treat you with love from what we can give right now. You know, and if that's different, we have to come up with some kind of a compromise, but it's got to be something where nobody's feeling like run over. And your priority is your partner, by the way. That's your priority, not your family, your partner. Because your partner will have your back for, you know, some of you think that they probably won't have your back forever, but if you're with your true love, you know, they will have your back. But, and you know what, if you lose your family along the way, you can have some pretty awesome makeshift family members. You know, I've had like a million moms, a million dads. I've had people who've taken me in and been more parents than my own parents have been. So don't let that get in the way. If there's a way to have healthy boundaries within that family unit, then go ahead and do that and compromise and do whatever you can do. But just set really good, healthy boundaries so that you are loving yourself and putting yourself as a priority, you and your partner. Yeah, I think I've babbled on enough. If I think of something else, I'll put it, you know, I'll probably comment back and forth with you guys about it or put out another video or something, but I think I covered quite a bit. Ask me any questions down below in the comments to expand on that. Or you can always call into the Satori Show and ask me some questions about that. And, okay, I guess I've said my piece because it feels like the air has just been lifted in here. So have a beautiful day, whatever you're doing, whatever you're up to. And I'll talk to you the next time I make one of these. Bye. Okay, I just remembered something I was going to say. I was going to say that whatever it is that you feel like your parents are giving you, that you know, you can't, like, okay, I don't know if it's money or security or cooking or something like that. It's like, I have to give this and this and this to them in order for them to keep giving such and such and such to me. Produce that for yourself. It'll help you feel more independent, like you can do anything, you know. If it's money, save some money up. If it's, find another source for whatever that stuff is. Don't let anybody ever like have something over you. Figure out a solution as to how to get around it and find another source for it. And that should give you some additional security in setting your boundaries as well. Okay, bye.